congratulations.
Thank you.
Where does your head go first when you think about this team and what you were able to accomplish this week?
Wow. A lot of places. Just because when you're part of championship teams, there's certain attributes, certain traits that all of them have, and toughness is at the top of the list. I mean, talent, you got to have that. You got to have the dudes. It's all about the players. But everybody's got talent now. The separator is the toughness piece of it, and just the unwillingness to waver from a process of just showing up and having a job to do. And when the outside external factors are telling you you're great, can you show up and do it the next day? When they're telling you you're terrible, can you show up and do it the next day? And it just, there's a lot of memories come flooding back of being part of dog piles as a player, winning championships as a coach. I'm not sure I've ever been around a group of young men quite like these, and just how absolutely resilient they are. I mean, that's the word to describe this group, and how tough they are, how much they love each other, how much they have each other's back. And there's, they got to get challenged along the way too. And that's our job as coaches, is to challenge them when they need it. We got to put our arms around them when they need it. And the best teams are player led. I've said that time and time again, and that's been a trait here of late from this group. We've had some guys emerge with voices, and their play has really, backed that up as well. Speaking of Josh, Caron, and some other guys, but Josh in particular, I'd like to just make a special mention to him. I mean, what an absolute performance that he put on in this tournament. I told him last night, I saw Dan Johnson hit 5 home runs in a conference tournament before to lead to a Big 12 tournament championship. I've never seen 6, so he may as well go get 6. And sure enough, he did it. But I guess, his play was awesome. But how he's been so selfless with the pitching staff this year. He's been an offensive-minded guy the first 2 years. This year it's been all about how he can help the pitching staff, what kind of energy and toughness he can bring for those guys. And here of late, just is challenging the group of position players to just rise to the occasion and just go compete and grind. And he led from the front that way all week for this team.
How do you think you challenged your guys today, or was there a moment that sticks out that you challenged your guys during this game?
In this game, I mean, it was after the first time through the order. I called the team up. I said, hey, let's just take a deep breath. We're in the fight right now. We're not on the barrel, but we're just a couple of plays away. And thank goodness for Jackson Brockett. I mean, he was amazing. He allowed us to have a chance to win that game. He played great. We played great defense behind him. But yeah, it did look like there were a couple moments that passed us by early in that game where we had a chance to take an extra base maybe here and there and didn't do it. Ended up costing us. But it just, in that game, I felt like our guys were right where they needed to be in terms of their intensity and everything else. I usually leave it alone when it comes to that. So the game played itself out, and dudes were dudes today.
Well, what happened with this team after the first game? What did they do it on their own? Did you say something? Did you have to say anything? Or?
Well, yeah. I mean, I challenged them pretty good after the first game, and just said, we just didn't play the brand of baseball that we showed up here to play, and and again, you give Ohio State credit on that day because they kicked our butts. However, I can deal with a loss if I feel like we're competing, to the best of our abilities, and we're never going to be accepting of anything less than that. And really, it's accepting the challenge of the intensity that it takes to win. We turned that down the first day. I will be the first to say that we turned that down as a group, and we had a conversation as a team about that. I told them, hey, we can go back and practice and hope that we get in the tournament. I think we had done enough to get in the NCAA tournament, but it was just kind of a wake-up call to say, we can go back and practice, or we can stay here and play baseball every day. The choice is ours. And when I speak about Josh Caron, I think he had some words for the group that helped propel the team. Again, every great team has that. You've got to have the guys that are willing to put themselves out there and hold everybody to a high standard. And some guys are afraid to do it. They don't want to hurt people's feelings, or they feel like, well, I can't say anything because I'm not doing as well as I need to do. And he just said, I'm here for it. And so I think he had some words for the group, and he challenged the group, and he took all the pressure off himself when he did that. It's funny how that works.
Jackson said he had goosebumps when Josh went deep there and when Gabe had to hit. How would you describe the environment today? What's it like as a coach seeing the players experience sort of what you did
Yeah.
when you were a player?
Yeah, it's everything. I told our guys that all the time. Is the reason that I coach is to be able to see them have the joy on their face, the dog piles, hoisting the trophy. It's so much less about winning, when it comes down to the rest of your life. It's the trophies come and go, the rings get put away. It's the memories that you make, and it's the attitude and mindset that you never forget that you have to be a champion. I mean, and those are the things I'm proud of with this group. It was incredibly impressive for Husker Nation to show up the way that they did. Knew that they would. 10 a.m. game, short notice, 13,000 plus, I believe I read. And we didn't give them a lot to cheer about for a lot of the game. Now Jackson Brockett did, and our defense did, but they were loud, they were into it, and I can say with 100% certainty that they were a big difference maker in that game for us.
If you had a lead going into the bottom of the ninth, was there any question as to who you're going to go to?
There was no question, and we had talked about every scenario you could talk about, and most of them involved a few other pitchers after Brockett and the bridge to get to Brett Sears. But there was no doubt that if we got to the ninth inning with a lead, Sears was the guy that was going to go finish it out for us.
Hey, what's the value of the week in the sense, Will, that like you guys knew you were in the NCAA tournament anyway? What did this do just in terms of momentum and then the experience for you guys?
Yeah, you find out a lot about your team every game that you play, and the fact that we were able to stay here and play a lot of different types of games this week. We have some guys that got really hot at the plate. We have pitchers that got hot. I mean, that's what it takes to win in the postseason. I mean, you have to have heroic performances from guys that you don't expect them from necessarily. But I will say, Jackson Brockett, I mean, he's a junior, he's a dude now. I mean, he's been a dude the back half of this year for us. And again, nobody's perfect. I'm proud of him for being resilient after that first inning, after the first outing of the tournament. He was great, and just every single guy and what they were able to provide the team throughout the week, they draw from that and take it into preparation. When we figure out where we're going to go, whether we get on a bus or a plane, we're going to take those experiences with us and that confidence with us, into a regional.
What was your conversation like with Jackson when you told him he's getting the ball?
There wasn't much of a conversation. I mean, we talked about it, Coach Childress and I, over the phone last night in the hotel as we all kind of went our separate ways and went back to our families, and we kind of walked through it and said, Brockett's the guy, right? And we kind of just wanted to reaffirm that he was the guy. There were a couple of other choices, but I think Brockett was the guy. I think it was a good matchup with their left-handed hitters, and he was gonna pitch with a chip on his shoulder today to bounce back. So it was pretty much, once we made that decision, it was okay. Well, we'll let Brockett know, and I think he was expecting it. I think he was ready for it, and like I said, I couldn't be prouder of him.
Can you just talk about Gabe's hit today and just what you saw from his performances this week?
Yeah, I mean, a 3-2 breaking ball. You've got to be moving right in the box. You've got to have the right mindset. You got to battle. The best swing of the year. I mean, no other way to put it, right? I mean, split a gap and just to stick with it the way that he has, and then the tournament that he's had. It's pretty impossible almost to look at his statistics and think that he wouldn't be the MVP, and that's how good Josh Caron was, in this tournament. So couldn't have won it without either one of those guys, that's for sure. Gabe Swanson's a dude, though, again, and he hasn't had the year that he's wanted to have, but he got to the point of the season where he said, the team needs me now, and he stepped up for us.
What was that moment like in the dugout? I mean, it's set up, right? 3-2 pitch, the crowd was on his feet, and he delivers in that moment. Like, what was your vantage point?
I was trying to have a slow heartbeat. I mean, that was my vantage point. Again, you go back to the 2-out single, it looked harmless at the time. You got to take your 4-hole hitter out of the game and put a pinch runner in there. And so Brumbaugh comes off the bench, steals a base to set it up. He would have scored on the double anyway, but it put more pressure on them to make pitches with runners in scoring position. So it was a huge moment. The crowd, again, for Gabe to be able to control his heartbeat and in the box in that moment, in that situation, and not let it get too big with how loud the crowd was in that situation. Kudos to him. but certainly I think it affected their guy in a positive way for the Huskers.
For you specifically, winning at Nebraska as a player, you won a few conference tournament titles, now in the Big Ten. Doing it in the Big Ten, being the first coach to do that at your alma mater, what does that mean to you specifically?
I love this place. I mean, I've poured most of my adult life into the University of Nebraska, and it means everything. I mean, family, faith, and baseball. That's kind of what I know. And I got a lot of people around me that have supported me through the ups and downs. And I've got a lot of great assistant coaches and support staff and administrators that have our backs, and this is a total team effort. I mean, it's not about me, it's about the guys, it's about the university. I'm happy to be part of another championship team, that's for sure. It's a story I'll tell for a long time, but the book's not done being written this year though. So I'm thrilled with this championship and ready for more. That's the way my brain works.
Can you speak to what Rob Childress has brought to your coaching staff this year, and to be able to get enough guys ready to make a run out of the losers bracket?
Yeah, and he was one of the distinctly remember what he told the team after the game is, if anybody in this tournament's built to come back out of the losers bracket, it's us with the pitching depth that we have. And again, it's having a steady hand there that we can have those conversations and those tense moments where we got to make decisions, and I lean on him a lot because he's been a head coach for 16 years before he came here. He's as selfless a human being as I've ever met. He's the reason I came to Nebraska in the first place. Pretty well documented there, but yeah, I mean he's meant a lot because he's very, very confident and just convicted and about what he does, and that really it just permeates through his pitchers, the way that they pitch, the way that they attack. And he said it's not a goal to lead the Big Ten in fewest walks per 9 innings. That's what we're going to do. That's what he said. That's what he told him. And it comes to fruition. And if you make the other team beat you by not giving up free passes, you got to have a chance to win championships. So Rob has been he's my mentor in the game. We've won a lot of conference championships together, and couldn't have done it without him. Lance Arbel, Mike Sirianni, Connor Behrens. My GAs, Gunnar Hellstrom and Caleb Feakin, strength coach Bryce Sieko. I mean, I could go on and on. A lot of guys have really contributed to this championship.
How does winning so many winner-go-home games here kind of help you next week as you go to regionals?
Yeah, you get your back up against the wall. And I told the team before the tournament started, you get one hiccup in each tournament, and that's it. That's all you get. You just get one. So we only had one in this one and won a tournament. You only get one next weekend, and once you get to the postseason, it's 5 wins to Omaha. So kind of that carrot dangled out there for this group. You have 13,000 people here for this game. Imagine what it's like getting Nebraska to this venue for the College World Series. It's 5 wins away. It can seem like this far-reaching thing, but you get your foot in the door in the regionals. It's 5 wins to get to Omaha, and it's hard. It's tough. It's tough to do it, but you got to talk about it, and you got to be able to visualize that. And having our backs up against the wall, we'll have some resilience going into next week.
Thanks, Coach.